Welcome to the Up Arrow Podcast with William Harris, featuring top business leaders sharing strategies and resources to get to the next level. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, I'm William Harris. I'm the founder and CEO of Element and the host of the Up Arrow Podcast, where I feature the best minds in e-commerce to help you scale from 10 million to 100 million and beyond as you up arrow your business and your personal life. Today's guest is one of the sharpest, most battle-tested SEO minds in the industry. Jeff Oxford is the founder of 180 Marketing, an agency that's quietly helped e-commerce brands 10x their traffic, and not with gimmicks, but with serious strategy-driven SEO that actually moves the needle. He's been doing this long enough to remember the Wild West days of search, but he's also one of the rare experts who's fully embraced the AI era. His annual SEO updates have become must-reads for marketers, especially after his 2024 report broke down Google's internal documentation leak, exposed what's really going on with AI overviews, and laid out a playbook for what comes next in a world where SEO is getting faster, smarter, and harder. Jeff's not here to sell hype, he's here to show us what actually works, how to use AI to scale content without getting penalized, how to win traffic in a zero-click world, and how to build topical authority that outlasts every algorithm update. So whether you're running a 10 million e-commerce brand or just trying to keep up with the chaos of search right now, buckle up. You're about to get a masterclass at SEO from someone who's living at the intersection of data, tech, and growth. Jeff Oxford, welcome to the Up Arrow Podcast.
William, thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, that was quite the intro. Was that all you, or was that AI assisted?
AI assisted, brother. Man, I mean, you got to use the tools that are there, right?
Yeah, that was incredible. I'm impressed. I hope I can live up to it.
You are. You already are. I wanted to give a shout out to, I typically shout out whoever introduced us. And in this situation, you actually had reached out to me, which is, I love that people are starting to do that now that I've gotten to the point where people are like, hey, I want to be on their show. But I will say that one of the people that I wanted to talk to, because I saw you on his show, was Andrew Udarian. And Andrew was on this show. And I was like, okay, Andrew, is Jeff a guy that I should have on the show? And he was like, undoubtedly, Jeff is a great guy. And so you've got a good recommendation from Andrew, e-commerce fuel there. So I want to give him a shout out too and say thanks for his time.
Well, I'm happy to hear it. And Andrew, if you're listening, thanks for the shout out.
Yeah. We're going to dig in a little bit. I do want to give a quick announcement of our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Element. Element is an award-winning advertising agency optimizing e-commerce campaigns around profit. In fact, we've helped 13 of our customers get acquired, with the largest one selling for nearly 800 million and one that IPO'd. You can learn more on our website at element.com, which is spelled ELUMYNT.com. Okay, on to the good stuff. I want you, Jeff, to picture this. I want you to imagine building the perfect piece of content only to have it summarized by AI, cited without a click, and never visited. Is SEO dead, or is it just evolving into something far more complex?
I'd say it's a great question. I'd say SEO is evolving. You know, Google always has its updates, and for the longest time, SEOs are just living by the updates that Google has. But Google has always wanted the same thing. They wanted quality content to rank at the top. They want the legitimate brands to show up. They don't want crappy scammers or a junky affiliate sites getting up there. They want the true best businesses and content to rank the highest. That's always been their goal. And every year, Google gets just a little bit better at enforcing it. They have a new update that, we remember the days of black text on black background.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All the shady stuff. They took care of that. And then they got, they really cracked down on backlinks in 2011, 2012 with some of the updates. And we saw in these past 3 years, that the latest thing is these affiliates, they're smart. It's this whole cat and mouse game where affiliates are like, all right, Google, you're going to raise the bar. Well, now I'm going to have a legit looking blog with really good content. I'm going to summarize all these Amazon products and reviews and create my own best, t-shirts page or whatever, best VPN page, whatever it might be. And, that was kind of the latest thing. So Google just keeps raising the bar, and SEOs keep jumping over it. But I will say we're finally getting to the point where the bar's high enough where it's really hard to jump over it without being like a legitimate business with good content and good products and good user experience.
Yeah. So SEO isn't dead. It's just that lazy SEO is dead, and it's maybe been getting that way for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I will say for content sites, don't start a blog today. If you're listening to this and you're like, I'm thinking I'll start a blog, I have all these ideas. If that's your passion, go for it. But SEO for content sites kind of got shattered these last 2 to 3 years. There's been so many big updates, like the helpful content update and core algorithm updates, where even legit blogs written by true industry experts with great content, they're just getting demolished. A lot of that traffic is instead going to Reddit, Quora, or funny enough, it's actually going to e-commerce sites that have a blog. So if you're an e-commerce site and you have a legit business, you're in Google you have a Google My Business set up, Google can verify your legit business. Blog all you want, you're gonna do well. But if you're just a standalone content site, I will safely say SEO is pretty much dead for a standalone content blog site.
Do you think that part of this has to do with the fact that if you're a blog on an e-commerce website, Google knows that you ranking for these keywords likely means longer time on page, people checking out, actually spending money. If they're spending money, then that website itself is going to end up spending money on its ads, versus you just being a standalone blog. Google's like, not that much in it for me.
You know what I think is really going on is Google's been getting a lot of flack the past, not so much now because they kind of fixed it, but if you think like 2020 to like 2023, if you were to search, let's say I want to buy, like I like smoking meat or brisket or things like that, and let's say I want to buy a new.
I like eating that.
Yeah, perfect. We got to hang out sometime. Let's say I want to get a new smoker. If I went to Google and searched best smoker for brisket or for beginners, page one was just littered with these junky affiliate sites that they've never seen the product. They've never touched it. All they're doing is going on Amazon, summarizing the reviews and the product descriptions, no value. And that was just littering everywhere. Like the best content couldn't stand out. So I think Google finally just dropped the hammer and said, we're only going to show content from sites we trust. Mm-hmm. And there's, trust is a very ambiguous word in the SEO world. But if I was to kind of make it a little more tangible, if a site has a physical address, it's been verified in Google My Business, and you have a few, ratings there, maybe you have third-party reviews on Trustpilot or, reseller ratings, that makes it a lot safer for Google to trust your website and rank you higher versus you're a faceless affiliate site with no contact information, no phone number, no address. You're not listed on Google My Business. And I think that's kind of the criteria they set to rank content.
That's really wise. I think the other thing that you called out that's interesting is it's trusting sites like Reddit more. Do you think that that's just because people have no filter there? And so while it might have a lot of interesting content, it also just has very real content.
I think part of it is like it's Reddit was harder to game. Like, unless you do a really big effort. Like if I just go into Reddit and I try, like, let's say I search Reddit and there's the best smokers of 2025 posts there, and I plug my product I'm affiliate with. People are really good at sniffing out promoters and spammers, and they will downvote you to oblivion. So it's kind of this, it has this kind of built-in editorial effect where not always, but generally the real businesses, the real products typically float to the top, and the spammers and the promoters that are trying to manipulate it kind of sink to the bottom. So I think that's why Google put more weight into Reddit, is because it is good at filtering that out, and a lot of people trust it. They have a lot of branded search. A lot of people are typing their query and adding Reddit at the end because they want to see what real people are actually saying about it.
Do you know how when you're going through the airport, sometimes they make you like walk through like the little dog area, like side by side, so the dog can sniff if you got any drugs or anything like that? I feel like that's what it sounds like Reddit is, where it's like, hey, you could make a machine that can maybe sniff this out, but a dog just does a lot better job. People still do a better job of sniffing out what's trustworthy and not trustworthy versus, the algorithm for Google.
I mean, that's a great way of looking at it. Like if I write an article about, best gaming laptops, it's just one opinion. You don't know if I'm biased or not. You don't know if I'm affiliated with it. But if it's Reddit and there's like 100 people all commenting on this best gaming laptops post, you're getting different opinions. It's more nuanced. It honestly provides a better user experience. Like, why would you trust me if you don't know me? Whereas if you have 9 out of 10 people saying the same thing, that's going to have a lot more trust, and you're going to feel more confident in your research decision.
I like that. All right, I want to dig into AI and SEO specifically. You outlined dozens of ways that AI can amplify SEO, from content to code to link building. what is the number one underused AI workflow that you think people need to know about, especially for e-commerce?
So what I'd say, like as far as like saving time and being effective, AI is really good with content production. And I'm sure a lot of people are already familiar with that, and they're using ChatGPT probably to create lots of content. But I almost never see people doing it right. And I see that the outputs that people are doing aren't the most high quality. And in a world now where everybody's using AI, the bar's kind of been raised a bit where it's not enough to just go into ChatGPT and say, write me a category description for a page that sells gaming laptops. Garbage in, garbage out. Instead, what you want to do is, okay, let me make a brand overview. Let me list out what's my target audience, what's my writing style and voice, what's the story behind my brand. You want to, in ChatGPT, if you're lazy, you can use ChatGPT for this. So let me just give you like a 3-step process for creating really good content. Step 1. You can do this with ChatGPT, although Cloud just launched a feature like last week for deep research. ChatGPT has deep research, Cloud has it. Either one's fine. But you just basically say, write me a comprehensive brand overview for whatever your brand is. For William, for you, it's going to be element.com. Okay. ChatGPT is going to go look through your website. It's going to go look at all these mentions. It's going to pull all this information. And it's pretty impressive. It'll create a full brand overview about your brand. It'll look at the history, the story, your unique selling points, your target audience, all the stuff that you're affiliated with. And then from that, you can also say, okay, great, write me some writer guidelines based on this brand overview. And then it'll give you that. It says, maybe it's more informative, maybe it's more casual and funny, maybe it's like we're having a cup of coffee together. You take all this great information, you go to use cloud.ai, CLAUDE.ai. I don't know if it's Claude or Cloud. I always get, whatever it is. And right now, Cloud's 3.7 Sonnet is the best for writing content. ChatGPT kind of still has that AI feel to it at times. Gemini is better, but it's not there. If you're writing content, use Cloud. It's just, battle tested and kind of notoriously known as the best. And you can create a project. And in this project, you can upload a text file that has your brand overview. You can now add a text file that has your writing guidelines. You can have a text file that has information about your products. You can add a text file that has writing samples that really capture the style and tone you're going for. You feed it all this information, and then when you say, write me a category description for a page that sells gaming laptops, the output is going to be on brand. It's going to resonate more with your target audience. It's going to include unique selling points. It's going to have actual product information in there. It's just going to be a much higher quality output. So that's kind of the biggest SEO hack right now. It's not just use AI, but use it the right way to create content.
I love it. I even add for when we're writing ad copy, if there's industry specific jargon or slang or things like that I'm like, please use that. Things that it's like only this audience would understand, right? When you talk about using Claude or ChatGPT in these ways, I like that you called out the idea that everybody's using AI now. And so it's not really a differentiator anymore to do that, but like a better workflow is the thing that's going to level that up as well. I would even say that I'm taking this to using 3 or 4 different ones for the same thing too. So it's not even saving me that much time. It's just making the output that much better. But I'll take something, maybe like you said, I'll do the deep research maybe with Gemini, and then I'll go from that and I'm just like, okay, draft me something here in GPT. Then I'll say, okay, Grok, how would you improve this? And then I take that to Claude and I say, now make this actually sound good. Because I agree with you. Claude ends up being, from a writing perspective, significantly better at the writing. I think Gemini is probably the most logical of the models that I use. And the Grok is the most unfiltered, which they all have their different reasons for why I like using them. But I end up using like 4 of them oftentimes at a different time. Because I feel like once I do that, now I've actually come to something that's really refined, that's really good, versus just using one and done, simple prompts, things like that.
Agreed. It's like you want to have different tools in your tool belt for different tasks.
Yep. Can you take me through, outside of that, what is another area that you have found that people are maybe sleeping on when it comes to using AI to improve their SEO?
I would say, like, okay, if we go to the basics, like you have, pick typical page optimization, title tags, meta scripts, and header tags. Let's start there because everybody's, you still want to make sure your pages are optimized. yes, you can use it. You can do like go to ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever your model is and say, write me a title tag for a page that sells gaming laptops, and it's going to be okay. But what works even better, if you have a rank tracker with SEMrush or Ahrefs or something else, you can literally just take a screenshot of the page rankings, drop that into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is better for that because it has really good vision. Drop that into ChatGPT and say, write me a optimized title tag for this page based off the ranking data. It will look at the rankings, it'll look at the search intent, it'll look at the difficulty, it's going to look at the volume and position, and it actually does a pretty good job of selecting the best keywords. So, title tags change based off what you're ranking for. So that's a kind of a quick hack you can use is just, spend the extra 10 seconds grabbing a screenshot of your ranking data and feed that into any AI model when you're generating metadata.
I love that a lot. I feel like being able to use all of this stuff, then it gets you a lot of information. You still have to take action on it, right? Like ultimately you as the human being have to take action. Going back to some of the stuff you're doing before, it's like you can do the research on your brand, maybe even put together the SWOT analysis. It can give you all of this information, but ultimately you still have to make a decision. Do you think that the people who are going to succeed the most in the next few years are those people who actually have the ability to just say, look, the data is never going to be perfect, make a decision? Because I find that a lot of times, even now we get stuck with attribution and we're just like, I can't make a decision because of this or this. Northbeam says this, Triple Whale says this, GA4 says this, Shopify says, I don't know what to do. And so you do nothing. I believe that one of the most important things you can do is actually just take action. That is diagnostic in and of itself. Do something, see what happens. Based on what happens, now you at least have an answer.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the ready, fire, aim approach, where it's just like you don't want to have paralysis by analysis. You want to just get something going and you can iterate on it. And honestly, when it comes to SEO, I think people get too fixated on on-page SEO. Like they'll tweak the same title tag back and forth for months. They'll kind of go deep into their site and make sure they have every page has alt text, and they'll make sure every single page is W3C compliant. That is such, in 2025, it is such a small part of SEO. I mean, if we're talking about the 80-20, that's that might get you not even 20% of the results. Honestly, in a lot of cases, it's 10% of the results, because a lot of these platforms that people are using, whether you're on Shopify or like an enterprise platform like Demandware, NetSuite, or whatever you're on, a lot of these platforms have become a lot more SEO friendly over the years. The technical issues that we saw 10 years ago aren't as prevalent out of the box as they used to be. So, I'd say when it comes to technical SEO, yes, make sure your pages are crawlable, make sure they load quickly, make sure they're indexable, make sure you don't have a bunch of duplicate content issues. You can use AI to optimize your top pages, but it should be more of a one and done thing. If you're spending more than 2, maybe 3 months getting your on-page right, you're probably wasting your time and spinning your wheels a bit. Get it right once and then move on to other things that really move the needle, like link building, content marketing, and things like that.
Okay, so that's a good transition into this. Let's say, how do you start ranking in a zero-click world? What are the key fundamentals that people need to be doing?
When you say zero-click world, are you talking like
it's just showing up as... Well, okay, let's say, the search results being part of this, right? It's automatically showing up there, or they're just going to, they're using ChatGPT. That's zero click in and of itself as well, right? If they're getting something it recommends it doesn't always give them the link to it. So
I want to go on a quick tangent because I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but 2 days ago, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago on April 28th or 29th, ChatGPT just had a big update to their search. Basically, they will now, if you do keywords like best smoker grill, best gaming laptop, best compression socks, anything kind of like what is the best, they will now have this integration. They'll actually show you products. They'll show you merchants selling those products, and you can click a buy button that's going to take you right to that product page from ChatGPT. So going on a little bit of tangent, but AI optimization, everyone's talking about AI optimization, and you've got to be optimized for ChatGPT. And for the longest time, I thought it was kind of more hype because ChatGPT is not giving us any data on what prompts people are using. I mean, imagine trying to do SEO without knowing the search volume of a keyword. It's going to be really, really difficult. But we know using SEO tools how many people are searching for best gaming laptops, best compression socks, best shoes, whatever it might be. We can kind of extrapolate to be like, okay, which of these are people most likely searching for in ChatGPT? And if this is the first path I've seen to getting real ROI on AI optimization, because if somebody goes into ChatGPT, they type in best smoker grill, your product's in there, I bet you're going to get quite a bit of referral traffic. This is high intent, high conversion traffic. They're in the research phase. If ChatGPT is saying your product's the best, I can almost guarantee you're going to start seeing more referral traffic and conversions from ChatGPT in the next few months.
Yeah, and I think that integration was more specifically with Shopify too, wasn't it? Are they launching it out elsewhere?
Yeah, I think they have I believe they have a partnership with Shopify. So if you're on Shopify, you're pretty much already covered. You don't have to do anything extra. Like, you'll be eligible to show up, but outranking all the other Shopify stores is another story. We can talk about AI optimization a little bit later. Also, OpenAI kind of has a partnership with Bing. So I don't think they've come out and said it, but
that's true.
If your products are listed with Bing Merchant Center, I believe, like, again, I've done some, just like this literally came out a few days ago. I've done a little bit of testing. It does look like they might be pulling from some of Bing's data with Bing's Merchant Center. So if you're, and Bing, it's weird, Bing SEO is becoming a thing again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's a way you can get included, is be on Shopify or try to get on the Bing Merchant Center. That's
intuitive because of the partnership that they have, like you said, with Microsoft. Okay, so how do we do a good job of making sure that we are showing up within AI search?
So it's still evolving, but I'll just kind of tell you some of the best practices and things that are confirmed to work. When you have an AI model like ChatGPT, there's kind of two main parts of it. There's the initial training data, which is, they're crawling the web, they're taking all this information, they're learning. They're using that to kind of determine like what's the best product and what's going to influence their answer. So if your product is more prominent, you're and mentioned in more places and has more reviews and mentioned more on Reddit, that's going to highly impact your prominence in these large language models. You can impact that by using on your so we'll talk about what you can do on your website and what you can do off of your website. So on your website, use structured data, also known as schema.org markup. On your product pages, have the structured data saying what the product is, what the price is, the reviews, the ratings. You can do the same thing for the homepage and the organization. So make sure you have structured data in place. It makes it easier for these robots and large language models to understand the page. You also want to structure your page as well. Make sure you have a good hierarchy of you have one H1 tag. You have H2 tags, you have H3 tags. Don't include any header tags in your top navigation or your footer, because that's going to throw off the understanding of your page. You can also do some blogging and content marketing. Talk about your products, talk about use cases, who they're for, the benefits, why you choose one over the other. Just kind of general content marketing can help. So those are all things you can do on your website itself. But a bigger part is, what are other people saying about your products? What are people on Reddit saying about your products? If I go into Google and type in best gaming laptops, is my product mentioned on some of these big, maybe on some of these big hardware sites? Am I being mentioned?
Right.
So off-page link building can definitely help, because if you're doing link building and you're doing either guest posting or product reviews or content marketing, you're going to be getting your brand out there. But you also want, maybe just consider digital PR. Like, can you get mentioned on those big sites that have like Tom's Hardware? Can I get my gaming laptop mentioned on Tom's Hardware? Can I get my dress shirts listed on GQ's best dress shirts article? So those are kind of the main things that's going to really influence your presence in these AI models.
So if I was going to summarize those two things in like a way that makes sense to my brain, the schema is the idea of, if let's say that you launched a physical store, and then you took all of the street signs down between that person's house and your house, like without them knowing how to get there, they can't get there. The schema is the idea that's like, you've got the street signs, you've got a sign in front of your, like, they know now how to get there. Like, the schema is like this really good, easy data for them to understand what's going on, what matters. And without that, that's like a base. Without that, it's just confusing for anybody, for a human being, for an AI bot, etc. Right?
It's a great analogy. Schema is like using Google Maps. Them trying to crawl your web page is like somebody trying to just tell you, oh yeah, turn right at the tree and turn left at the church. And it's like, yeah, I can kind of get the gist of it, but schema is like, this is it, no questions asked. I understand.
0.3 miles. Yeah. Yes. 250 feet. Yeah. Okay. And then on the offsite stuff, the way that I like to describe that to people is, and I think you've talked about this before a lot, of like topical authority. There's there's one piece of this. Let's just go back to the Google days and then we'll go to the AI days. The Google days, there was maybe if a lot of people are saying something about you, then that's going to trigger your mind, right? And I would say, like, imagine if you and I were talking and apparently you like smoked meats and somebody, let's say 100 people tell you Will's really good at, smoking brisket. It means something to you. Even if you don't know any of those 100 people, it's just like, man, there's 100 people saying this. I'm going to take notice of that. And so like, there's that piece. The topical thing would be if all of a sudden, if you knew that or let's just say that the person that you know who is the best at smoking meat, like somebody who's like won the like World Series of meat smoking says, no, Will's legit, you should try his brisket sometime. You're like, it's only one person, but that person is very relevant. That person is topically relevant. They are authoritatively relevant, right? Like those are the pieces. Going into the AI system, those are still true. The only thing that's changed now is AI is not, it's not human. So it can't see, taste, touch, smell, feel. It doesn't have that ability. And so the best way to learn those things, kind of like what you were calling out, Reddit or other forums, is like where people are talking about that. Human beings are talking about their very real lived experiences with that.
Yeah, that it's like, what's interesting with the way large language models work, if you break it down, it's literally just trying to guess what's the next word that should come next. And it's based on that, just on all these parameters across a massive data set, the entire web. So if you just look at how large language models work, it doesn't really factor in authority as much. It's not saying this article is more authoritative than this one. It's just saying across our data set, when people are talking about best gaming lab or best smoker grills, Traeger happens to have that frequency the most. So it's when you look at large language models and the training data, I think it's less about authority and more about just prominence and occurrence. So that's something to keep in mind. But that's only half the equation. When I go into ChatGPT today and I type in best smoker grill, it's not only using their training data. It's also pulling augmenting that with real data from the web. So it's going to go search best smoker grills into Bing, because it's partnered with Bing. It's going to pull, it's going to find these like here, if I just do it right now, like best smoker grills, you're going to have these authoritative things from barbecueguys.com, Reddit, foodandwine.com, Men's Journal, some very authoritative websites. So it's augmenting its training data with real data. And if you want it to impact that, you want to make sure your products are listed in whatever Bing's showing for the best smoker grills.
And that's where the PR piece comes in that you were talking about. To a point, this is no different than what has always been true in marketing, which is if you want people to want your stuff, you have to show that other people already want your stuff. That's kind of fair. And so if you can use the PR to kind of get that, the AI system is also going to be, let's just say, fooled by that potentially, but it's really just learning from this, saying, okay, great. Apparently other people that I research right now currently also are suggesting your Traeger grill. So that's what we should go with.
Yeah, like I said before, it's weird talking about Bing SEO. I don't think I've had those two words come after each other out of my mouth in a long time. But especially with this new update that ChatGPT had, where you can now, it's going to list products and actually take to those pages. If you want to perform well in this new shopping integration that ChatGPT has, you have to perform well in Bing. There's no way around it.
Can you break down your two-part system? I remember you talking about a two-part system. I think I read about this in one of the articles that you were kind enough to send to me that you wrote for E-commerce Fuel. Like how to find the questions to answer, and then how to structure and deploy content in a way that Google loves, and then let's just say by association, AI is going to love.
And I think you're talking, and that with that, you're kind of talking about topical authority.
Yes.
Yeah. So topical authority, for those that don't know, it's kind of this newer ranking factor that really became prominent the last 3 or 4 years in the SEO community. We've started to see some remarkable case studies where websites can rank extremely well with very few backlinks, lower authority sites just kicking butt, outranking high authority, really trusted websites. And the way they were doing this is what we call topical authority. And if I were to summarize topical authority, if we take a topic like, let's say, smoking meat, for example, and smokers. If on my website I have blog content saying like, what is a smoker? What is it made of? What are the types of smoker? How to use smokers? What are the best recipes for smoking? All how to clean your smoker. Just take the entity of a smoker and think of every single possible kind of angle that you can do on that. And what you're doing is you're helping Google build out its knowledge graph. It gives it more kind of trust of like, okay, smokers are made of, metal, steel, aluminum. Smokers are related to grills. The smokers are related to Weber and Traeger, and you make all these connections between entities in Google's knowledge graph, and it helps Google understand like, okay, I can see the relationship between a smoker grill and all these other things in the world, and this website seems to do a really good job of making those connections. So in short, whichever website does a better job of answering questions about a particular product will have higher topical authority about that product. So that's the first part of it, is coverage. You want to make sure you're fully covering your topic or your product or whatever it might be. The other part of it that people forget is history. You can blast it all out today. You're going to have high topical coverage. You're going to have no topical history. So another equation is time. It takes time for Google to crawl all this, rank it, index it, and be like, okay, this site has been talking about smokers for 5 years or 10 years. They're going to be way far ahead of someone who just started today.
That makes sense. That's true for anything in life, right? Like time gives you just more perspective, more opportunity to have built out a bigger web, etc. Maybe this is off topic, but I feel like it's kind of similar to this. And maybe it's a little bit old, but I want to jump into it because there's a way I want to lead into this. So in the Google ranking factor leak, we saw that there was confirmed use of Chrome data, engagement metrics, even sometimes, author profiles. What changed in your strategy after that leak? And do you think that that's still relevant today? And let's just even say into the next 3 years.
What I would say is the Google data leak kind of confirmed it wasn't any like bombshells or revelations. It kind of just confirmed what a lot of SEOs already saw working. So for example, we kind of theorized that bounce rate, time on site, engagement was a strong ranking factor. Google leak confirmed it. We kind of theorized that having a higher click-through rate in the search results was a major ranking factor. The Google leak confirmed it, which, by the way, for those listening, one of the most important ranking factors is if you're showing up on page 1, what % of people are clicking on your listing versus your competitors? For every position on page, those top 10 positions, it has like a theoretical projected click-through rate. If you're outperforming the click-through rate for your spot, Google will move you up so quickly. So it is a very, and that's the power of branding. People click on brands. If you have a big brand, you're gonna go up higher. So
great point.
So that was one that it confirmed. And another one that's interesting is they had something called Site Focus Score, which basically looks at how is a website or an e-commerce site focused on one particular product line and product, or is it selling everything under the sun? And the sites that are more hyper-focused on just one product or a few products, all things considered equal, will outrank sites that have a lot of other products and categories. So if one advice I give to people is if you have an e-commerce store with a massive catalog, but really maybe only 20% of your categories are driving 80% of the revenue, if there's a business case to kind of consolidate your catalog, cut low performing products that maybe you haven't sold in a while, cut low performing categories that aren't a direct fit with your core audience and you don't really need, there's massive SEO benefits to doing that.
Yeah, we've seen this, I know, in content a lot. Jimmy Daly wrote about this years ago. I remember Tommy Walker wrote about this. Like a lot of people have talked about like this idea of like culling that content, right? Or like, pruning that content back. And by doing that, by actually getting rid of pieces, they rank significantly better for all of the stuff that they left on site. You're saying the same thing is true for product, basically.
Yeah, products and categories. And I'll give you an example. We had one client that's kind of in the health and wellness space. They sell pretty much every product you could find at CVS. Band-Aids, ointments, creams, pain relievers, just all the typical things. But really, there's only four types of products they cared about. COVID test kits, gloves, like disposable gloves, incontinence products, and masks, like KN95 masks that were big during COVID. That was it. That, because they manufactured those, they had higher margins, and everything else was kind of just more having a full catalog to provide a good user experience. So I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you're consulting with an SEO professional. But we worked together and we cut every single product and category page that was not part of those core 4 lines that I mentioned. We literally took down over 90% of the pages, no longer visible to search engines. And people would think that's like SEO suicide.
Sure.
And in some cases it might be, but their traffic tripled in 30 days.
Really?
They jumped up. They're actually, I think last time I checked, they're ranking #1 for KN95 masks, which is a highly competitive keyword. And they jumped on to top 3 for a lot of their core things. So yes, their site went down to just 10% of its size, but their traffic and revenue had a huge impact.
Okay, you hinted at this, but why? Can you emphatically say, like, why did getting rid of those products, why did that raise their traffic that much, that fast?
So only Google knows for sure, but I'll tell you my speculation on why I think happened. So it goes back to the site focus score that I talked about before.
Yeah.
Before, Google's crawling this website and says, okay, this website's about Band-Aids, ointments, creams, knee braces, breast pumps. It's about all these things. So the focus is diluted across all these categories.
Mm-hmm.
You take all that out, it's like, oh, this site is just about COVID test kits, masks, incontinence products, and disposable gloves, and that's it. So they became way more prominent for just 4 things instead of being diluted for like 100 different things.
Sure. Out of curiosity, let's go back to the Wish analogy. I've had Christian Lamone on the show here before. He's the one who grew Wish.com. They had a product for everything, like way more than any of the other ones that you're talking about, right? Like literally everything in every variant you can imagine, right? Like they had tons of it. Like let's just basically say this is Amazon. In a situation like that, let's just say old school me, I don't do SEO as much as anymore. I used to do SEO as well, right? And so like I'm following a little bit there. Some of my stuff might be a little bit old, but the old school SEO me would say that user engagement metrics still played a really big part of this. And so if they see, hey, you came to the website and you ended up purchasing something, that's a very high intent person. They actually went through, completed the checkout. Google sees that. If they come to the website, they leave, they bounce after a little bit, then it's a lot less relevant, right? If they come to your website and you only have a fraction of the products that you used to have, and so now they come here, they're like, didn't find what I wanted, go somewhere else, like potentially losing some of like those signals as well, not even like the pages versus something like Wish where they have something for everybody. You come here and like you didn't buy something, and it's actually kind of surprising. If you had to pit something like that where you're like, maybe in the medium range of products, it's worthwhile to prune it down to like just the ones that are relevant. But if you have the ability to have everything, your Amazon, your Wish, or somebody like that, do you think that there's still some benefit there? You're like, no, I think even they would benefit from probably pruning.
So you're totally right that UI, UX, user engagement, bounce rate, time on site, these are very important things. And if they're failing, like it doesn't matter how perfectly optimized your page is. It doesn't matter how many backlinks you have. If you have a high bounce rate, you will not rank, period.
Yeah.
So to your point, you have to make sure you're providing a good user experience. Now, if somebody's going to Google and they're typing COVID-19 test kits and you have a great selection, they're buying it, it might not matter if you also sell Band-Aids. It might not matter if you also sell ointments, as long as you're providing a good experience for that user. But to your point, if people are expecting to see something that's not there and that's causing higher bounce rates, lower time on site, that absolutely will kill rankings.
Yeah. What are some other good case studies? You mentioned to me one about a sports gear story.
Sports gear swag.
Yeah. What was the core that unlocked and drove that 10x surge in traffic for them?
So it's interesting. What I always like to tell people, and I've been doing SEO for about 15 years now, it would be irresponsible for me to claim I know exactly what thing pinpointed it. But what I do know is if I do all these different things in conjunction together, we usually see good results. So sports gear swag, what I like about that case study, it's an example of just doing SEO best practices. So what do we do for them that got them such, their traffic literally skyrocketed, not just for low quality, high, low converting keywords and blog posts. This is for like their products, their category pages, the high converting traffic exploded. And we kind of just went to the fundamentals, like make sure your pages are optimized, have the keyword in the title tag, have the keyword in the meta description, have the keyword in the header tag. Make sure that your category pages have 300 to 500 words of good content that's helpful and helps people understand the products and how to decide one from the other. Make sure your content's optimized with not just your target keyword, but relevant keywords. Don't just try to pad your word count with salesy copy that's fluffy. Make sure it's concise and actually helpful. Make sure you have a good internal linking structure. Are you linking to your category page? Are relevant blogs linking to your category pages? Is your homepage linking to your most important products? Do your products have breadcrumbs so that Google can see the hierarchy and can see them linked to the parent category page? Do your products have links to related products to make it easier for Google to crawl into your website? So that was getting the on-page done right. And we also did a big push with what we talked about earlier, topical authority. Lots of blogging, lots of content talking about custom sports jerseys, the materials, why you pick one versus another. All these questions people might have, we made sure to answer it. And then also doing link building. So we did a few different things. We did we do product reviews, we do guest posting, we created a scholarship to get backlinks from some universities. Smart. We had some discount codes that we pushed out to get links from first responder blogs and military blogs and other types of online communities. So doing all these things, getting the on-page right, building the topical authority, having a content marketing plan, and doing link building, it all came together very nicely, and their traffic just exploded and the revenue exploded.
Yeah, the EDU links, I remember those being really fun ones to get, right? High authority, that was beneficial for brands. It sounds like, to a point, you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the brands that you come into that you're working with, let's just say a $10 million e-commerce brand, they likely have gotten there mostly off of ads or, something else, right? Like some organic stuff or whatever that they're doing, but maybe not SEO. That when they're looking at improving their SEO, are you walking into these $10 million brands saying, hey, you're 90% of the way there, we just need to do this 10%? Or more often than not, is it like you've got 10% of the stuff done that you need to get done and it's 90% broken?
It's a really good question, because the profile of what every site needs is different. If anyone's coming to you pitching like, hey, here's plan A, you get this many backlinks, this much content. Here's plan B, you get that just doesn't work in 2025 because every website's different. So how I approach it is there's kind of four main buckets to see, and I want to assess what does the site actually need. The first bucket is page optimization, and that's just keyword targeting. Are the keywords in the title tags? Are the keywords in the meta descriptions? Are they in the header tags? Are they in the content? So I want to assess that. And if you have a large catalog, there's a lot of opportunity there because you probably haven't gone deep into your site to optimize all those pages. Next is content. How's our topical authority? Are we covering the main topic and entities associated with this brand? What's the strategy look like? Making sure we do our category pages have category descriptions. So looking at the content. Next is technical SEO. This is your traditional like SEO diagnostics, crawling, schema, sitemap, robust text, all that technical stuff. What do they need there? Is there keyword cannibalization issues? Do they have a bunch of duplicate URLs getting indexed by search engines? And the last part is the link building. How authoritative is their website versus their competitors? Do their category pages and product pages have enough backlinks to compete? So we have these four buckets of SEO, and we have to assess how are they doing in each one. So I'll give you an example. If there's a really high authority site, maybe they have a domain rating of 70, well-known in the industry, we probably don't need to focus as much on link building. They have that authority. Sure. They've been there, but maybe they're on like Demandware, or maybe they're on some of these enterprise or Odoo or some of these enterprise platforms that aren't very technical SEO friendly. We might have to do way more work structuring the website, fixing technical issues, creating content, optimizing the pages. On the flip side, maybe there's this site, they're doing 20 million a year, but they just don't have the big enough authority because most of it's come from paid ads or or Amazon, sure, or whatever it might be. For those kind of middle tier sites, we're going to do a lot more link building. So it really just depends on like what's the catalog size, what platform are they on, and how authoritative is the website. From there, we can kind of piece together a plan that's going to be customized for their needs.
It reminds me of, I remember going to the gym the one time, and I saw, as I'm getting ready in the gym, I saw some, like a box of Ho-Hos sitting in the trash can. And I just thought somebody gave up on their New Year's goals here, right? Like they just decided to eat the whole box of Ho-Hos at the gym. To a point, if you are trying to get in better shape, maybe there's working out, and maybe you're working out 5 days a week, but you haven't fixed your diet, and so you're not seeing the results that you want. Or maybe you've optimized your diet. Maybe you're even working out, but you go to bed at 2 a.m. every night and you wake up at 6 a.m. So you're getting no sleep. And so it's like, it's not one or the other, but it's like figuring out where are the breakdowns within all of these different systems that work together And by optimizing the systems as a whole, you end up seeing significantly better results than just 1 + 1 = 2, but it's 1 + 1 = 5 or something like that.
That's exactly it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen store owners obsessed with having the perfect title tag, obsessed with having the most, this page doesn't have alt text on this image. They get hyper focused on technical SEO when really they just do not even come close to having enough backlinks to compete. Like you're putting your efforts towards something that's not going to get you where you want to go. And it's difficult because a lot of people, it's unless you've done SEO, it's hard to make those distinctions. It's hard, like, am I focusing on the right things? And it's so important. You could be putting money and time and effort into part of SEO that you heard is helpful, it's important, but you're totally missing out on this other thing that you really do need.
Yeah. I think that's easy for us to get caught up in that. Sometimes the way that I think about this is when we're not sure what we're doing, we focus on the one thing that we do know. And so I feel like, I mean, I'm guilty of this as a CEO myself as well, or even just as a human being, where sometimes it's like, well, I know this, and so I'm just going to continue to just dig into this one thing that I know and ignore all these other things because I'm scared of that, or I'm, whatever. I don't want to look like I don't know what it is, or anything along those lines. And so I think, to your point, sometimes for CEOs, remember to get out of the way of your own growth.
Yes. I see that a lot in the SEO industry because you can read a few blog posts, you can watch a few videos, and it's really easy to spot on-page opportunities. You can control the website, you can fix the title tags, you can add internal links, you can create the content, you can fix the technical SEO issues. But link building, it's the most difficult part of backlinks. How do you get these other websites to link to you? So a lot of SEO professionals they take technical SEO and on-page optimization, which should only be maybe 2 or 3 months, and they stretch it for like a year long of like, oh, now we're going to re-optimize this title tag, and now we're going to go back to this page. And it's like, you're missing the big picture here. So yeah, I do see that a lot where people just stick to what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the sign analogy or whatever, it's like you've got this amazing store, and instead of actually getting people to come to your store, you're out there on the sign like, I don't think that apostrophe is quite right. I want to make this just a little bit different. It's like, how about the sign's good enough? You can optimize that later, but just get people coming to the store. Let's go to the next step.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to talk about some strategic SEO stuff for founders on like what actually moves the needle, right? So we've talked a lot of good theories. We've talked about some good practicalities. But what's the real answer to how do I rank #1 for best smoker?
So I'll give you kind of a step-by-step process. So first thing you want to do, make sure you're pushing the right type of page. So for most e-commerce sites, okay, I'm going to actually, let me zoom out a little bit more.
Okay.
Make sure you're targeting the right part of the funnel. So if you have your typical customer journey, you're going to have the awareness stage, the research stage, and like the purchase conversion stage. This is an oversimplification. There's kind of you can break out the steps. But in the awareness stage, you might see like, what is a smoker grill? How to clean your smoker. It's like there's no intent there. They're not looking to purchase. Mm-hmm. So what I always recommend is focus on things where there's some conversion potential. And that's going to be literally, if someone's going to Google and typing smoker grill for beginners, Traeger smoker grill, like it's very clear that it's going to rank better. And that's typically going to be on a category page or product page. So if you want the highest ROI with SEO, you should be focusing mainly on your category pages, although there might be some products that are also worth it. Yes, you can go middle of funnel and do like you said, best smoker grill. That's probably going to be a blog post, but it's not going to convert nearly as high as someone typing in best smoker for brisket, and you have your category page there that has all these smokers that are good for brisket. Maybe they're bigger size, so they can have more meats, whatever it might be. So start at the right part of the funnel. So let's say we're going to go for let's say we're going to say smoker for brisket. You want to make sure you're pushing the right type of page. So always search into Google whatever keyword you want to rank for, and look at the search results. Is it mainly product pages? Is it mainly category pages? Probably not going to be homepage or blog posts. It's usually going to be products or categories. If you see Google's ranking all product pages, don't try to push a category page. If you see Google's ranking all category pages, don't try to push a product. I never hear people talk about this, but this is a big pitfall I see people use where they're just focusing on the wrong type of page when Google's expecting something different. You don't want to go uphill, go with the grain. So let's say you search your keyword and you search smokers for brisket, and you see all category page is great. Now you're going to push a category page. You want to have smoker for brisket in the title tag. You want to have a compelling meta description that talks about your unique selling points and has a call to action. You want to have the keyword in the header tag. You want to have 300 to 400 words of content talking about why these are good for smoking brisket. Talk about the materials, the size, why you'd go with one or the other, maybe which brands. You're gonna have like a little mini buyer's guide on this category page. Then what you want to do is you can optimize that. And here's a little trick you can do. Go to Google image search, type in smoker for brisket, and they have that refinement bar across the top that shows all these related keywords. Google's kind of telling you what related keywords that they're associating with this. So you want to sprinkle some of those in your content as well to make sure you're having a kind of more comprehensive piece of content. Then what you want to do is you want to add internal links to this category page. So if this category page is really important, maybe you want to feature it on the homepage and link to it there. If you have other blog posts about maybe brisket recipes or how to make brisket, make sure those blog posts are linking to your smoker for brisket category page. If you have products, all the products that fit into that, make sure they have breadcrumbs so they're linking up to this, smoker for brisket category page. So now you got your on page dialed in, and that's really all there is to it. But the big part is building backlinks. So if you search on page one and all your competitors, their smoker for brisket pages have 5 backlinks, 10 backlinks, 15. You're probably going to need to have 5 to 10 backlinks to compete and get that. So you want to do some link building. If you're a manufacturer, maybe you just maybe you work with a few bloggers, send them a product that they can test and get a backlink that way. Maybe you're doing some guest posting talking about how to choose the best smoker, how to cook brisket, and maybe you're getting a backlink. So there's a few different angles you can take, but you want to get, if you see the competitors having 5 to 10 backlinks, make sure your category page has 5 to 10 backlinks. And typically, if you do all those things, you'll rank really, really well for your target keyword.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Let's say that CEO comes to you then says, "Hey, Jeff, why aren't we ranking for number one meat smoker or whatever right now? Like, what's your process to figure out why?"
There's a few I would say there's a few issues that I see that I know a site won't rank well. So the first one, and again, this is something I don't hear SEOs talk about much, but your prices can have a big impact on rankings. So let's say on Google, I search for, smokers for brisket, and it's Amazon, it's Dick's Sporting Goods, it's kind of all these ones, and their prices are around, 300 to 800. And let's say I'm selling a premium product that costs 3,000. So let's look at just kind of, if you look at the market for any industry, there's going to be a portion of people that just buy the cheapest no matter what. Let's call it 20%. There's going to be, on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have your premium shoppers. Maybe that's another 20% that they want the best. They're affluent. They're going to spend $3,000 for a smoker. Most people are somewhere in the middle. They'll pay a little bit more if they see the incremental value that they're going to get from that. But here's the thing. If you're selling this premium smoker that costs $3,000 and only 20% are in the market for this type of product, what's going to happen to your bounce rate? Let's say you somehow got to position 3 and Google sees that for every 10 people that come to your webpage, 8 of them are hitting the back button and clicking on Dick's or clicking on Walmart or clicking on Amazon. You're going to fly off page 1 so fast. So if you're listening to this and you're selling a premium product, just know that there's a chance SEO might not be a good fit. Your marketing dollars may be better spent elsewhere.
I've never heard anybody talk about that, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you think about that with anything like cars, like Ferrari is likely not going to rank number 1 for cars, right? Like anything that you're trying to do, it's so far priced out of that. So then if you were going to do something, let's just say outside of the SEO realm on something like that, like you're wanting to do that, I would just give advice to people. Like you said, ads could be a potentially good market for you for this if you're selling a premium product, because you likely, hopefully have the margin and the CAC to support, acquiring a customer. And then there's also just becoming cool. Influencers, I think, is a great way to use this because they want to show the absolute best product. They want to show something that everybody wants to get into. So if you're saying, hey, maybe SEO isn't here, this would be a good place to go. That said, SEO is not gone. So how would you optimize a website where the $3,000 smoker and you know you're not going to rank number one for maybe the category collection pages. Is this where you're getting into the blog content?
Blogging can work. In some cases, there's still going to be some keywords you can go after. Like maybe people are searching for premium smoker, high-end smoker, smoker under $3,000. Do your research. There still might be people looking for what you have, and you want to make sure you're owning those keywords. Even if the search volume for those keywords is way less, the average order value is going to be a lot higher. So there's still going to be some value there. Yes, you can, blog content. You can still create all this content and just accept that most of the people coming to read your blog content probably aren't going to purchase from you. You're probably going to have lower conversion rates, but you can still get some value from it. Or maybe you extend the funnel. Maybe you have some like lead magnets where you have a article talking about smoking brisket, and you say, hey, enter your email, we'll give you our full guide, full video course or guide or checklist or whatever it is for smoking brisket, and you get their email address, and then you get you remarket to them with Klaviyo or something like that. There's a few ways you can do it, but personally, if a client comes to me and their products are, say, 3 or 4 times higher than what's the average, I typically just say, hey, I don't think your money's well spent on SEO. You're probably better off spending on paid ads, digital PR, and other marketing channels. Yeah.
Let's talk about the future of SEO. We've talked a little bit about it from an AI engine perspective, and we can continue going that way. I had Britton Ladd on here about a year ago, maybe or so. And one of the things that he said then that I thought was very interesting was that in the future, going to a website at all is going to feel like the Stone Age. Like people just aren't going to go to your website. We're starting to see maybe a little bit more of that too. Like even Shopify is pushing that with their commerce everywhere. Social shopping, people will just be going right through your AI agents. Get to the point where you just execute right through your AI agent. You don't even need to click through. I think that that's very inevitable at some point in time. What does that look like then from an SEO perspective?
That it's very interesting. Like if we go to I think the first question there is, are we moving towards a place where people don't go to websites and they just do it? And I think the analogy I'd give is we've had online shopping for a while, and even online grocery for a while, but there's still a lot of people that want to pick up the apple before they buy it. There's a lot of people that want to see it before they get it. So I think that if I had to guess, yes, I think there's gonna be a portion that especially for like commodities where you don't need to do much research, like use your AI agent to get you toothpaste, use your AI agent to buy you batteries. I think that's the case, but I bet most people listening to this probably aren't in those spaces. They probably have something more unique. Something that maybe people are researching and want to learn about. So if I had to guess for stuff like that, what I'm seeing is AI is kind of more of a data point in the search process and the research process, but it's not the ending, it's not the entire journey in itself. So I still think that there's going to be people going to websites to actually I want to see more of the photos. I want to read about it. I want to, whatever it might be. And who knows, maybe AI and these large language models are going to get there where I can just use ChatGPT and it's going to have videos and photos and everything in one place like that. That could happen. But I'd say it's too early to tell and to kind of make big changes to your marketing efforts on. It's something to prepare for, but I wouldn't say we're at the stage yet where it's kind of worth optimizing for something that may or may not happen.
I like the way that you worded that, where it's like maybe in the future, but like think about it with, let's just say, driverless cars. Even a decade when some of this stuff was starting to come out, people could say like, oh, this is going to happen within a decade. And it's like, we still might be a ways away from this becoming ubiquitous. And not even so much because of user adoption. Let's say that user adoption was willing to be there. Let's say prices are there, et cetera. There still might be legal things that block that, policy that blocks it. And so I think to your point, there may be things that prevent that from becoming a reality quickly enough. And so if you're in an e-commerce space, it's like, well, that might not happen for more than a decade from now. So, right now, optimize for what you have.
And it kind of touches what's, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are wondering, like, is SEO even going to be a thing in 5 years? Like, are people going to use Google and search for things and go to my website? Or is everyone just going to use ChatGPT? Because if nobody searches in Google, SEO is dead. SEO no longer exists. It's all AI optimization and these other marketing channels. But what's interesting is, Google just had their quarterly investor, the quarterly financials come out a few weeks ago. And one thing I always look at this because it kind of gives you an indicator of how well search is actually doing. Their revenue from search was up about 12%. Let me make sure. No, about 10% in Q1 2025 versus Q1 2024. So when people say SEO is dying, it's not there. The one metric that I'm looking at most is what's coming from Google's earning reports, and is revenue from Google search higher or lower? Because if people stop searching, that's going to be less clicks on ads. It's going to be less revenue, but it's still increasing. So for now, we're still seeing that upward momentum. Who knows what it's going to look like in 26 or 27, but it hasn't flatlined yet. It's still growing. So, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on changes and with AI, and like what we talked about earlier with ChatGPT adopting this Google search, this search integration and product integration. Like, it's good to be aware of those and capitalize on it. But we're still seeing massive amounts of people searching in Google and buying products based off that.
I would say, to your point, the things that you need to do to optimize for AI search are the same things that you basically need to do for optimizing for Google search. And so if you continue to do good SEO, which is, let's just say, making up 90% of your traffic, of your search traffic, then you're still positioned well for being in the right place for when and if AI search were to take over a larger share of that.
Yeah. And if you're doing good in Google search, you're probably doing good in Bing search, which is also going to be pulled into ChatGPT.
Right. That's fair. Although, maybe double check, what is it? Your Bing Webmaster Tools, right? Is it even called that anymore? I don't remember. Yeah. Maybe double check that, dust that off again. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't logged into this in a year.
Yeah, get your bases covered. Make sure there's no big red flags. But here's the thing: if you're doing well in Google, chances are probably going to be doing well in Bing.
Yeah. What's the number one thing that you think brands should do to protect their SEO future, then, irrespective of anything that could happen?
Number one thing they can do, just kind of build like a SEO moat around them. And is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah. Yep.
The biggest differentiator is just the authority of a website and how many backlinks. Like, so many websites can have really good on-page SEO and good content and no technical SEO issues, but what really separates the sites is how authoritative is it? How many other sites are linking to them?
And what's beautiful, again, is that authoritativeness means that you're getting mentioned in other articles, and that means that you're likely increasing the LLM's understanding of wanting that to be the next right word too.
Yeah, if you're doing product reviews and you're getting your products in the hands of all these bloggers and they're writing about it, and then ChatGPT updates their training data on the whole web, and they see, oh wow, there's all these mentions of this. That's gonna, just based on how the technology works, that will have a positive impact on these large language models and how often they mention you.
Yeah. You mentioned title tags before. So aside from that, what's the most overhyped SEO tactic that you're just like, just please stop making this such a big deal?
A lot of things related to tactile SEO is very overhyped. So and some of these might be controversial, and I'll happily debate anyone on this, but
good.
XML sitemaps, I don't think matter at all. Everyone gets hung up on XML sitemaps. It was important in the early days when Google's crawler capabilities wasn't as strong as it is now, but Google's not really relying on your XML sitemap. It's relying more on your internal links on your website to find things. And if you have a page that's an orphan, meaning there's no way to navigate to it on your site, maybe from a technical issue or you just forgot that internal link, even if it's on your XML sitemap, it's probably not going to rank very well. So XML sitemaps really aren't that important. What matters more is your internal linking structure. Site speed, I think, is overrated. A lot of people get hung up on site speed. What I'll say is, as long as your site doesn't load slow, it's fine. So like if your site takes 10 seconds to load, yeah, that's going to kill your rankings, more so because it's providing a poor user experience. But going from 2 seconds to 1 second, honestly, is probably not going to make any difference with your SEO. And a lot of people, they'll plug their website into page speed insights. Yep. They'll look at the core web vitals, look at that mobile score, and like yell at their developer because it's so bad. We have to accept that as e-commerce sites, we need a lot more functionality that a content site doesn't need. We need to have live chat. We need to have Klaviyo pixels. We need to have heat map tool. There's all these different things that we need that just a WordPress site doesn't. So don't worry if your core web vitals aren't perfect. Don't obsess about that page speed insight score. As long as when you go incognito and you visit your site and it loads decently and provides a good user experience, that's it. That's all that matters with site speed.
I love hearing you say that as an SEO, because I say that to clients all the time who will say something like, I remember one client basically coming to me and was like, I think that my developer is screwing me over. Like, I can't believe this. Look at what this independent audit from McKinsey or whoever just did on my website. And they said that, this is where I'm at for my page speed and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, great. And I just go over there and I'm like, here's Nike's. Like, you're actually a little bit ahead of them. Here's this one. And it's like, to your point, like if you wanted just a static HTML page, fine, you'll be really fast, right? But the reality is you need that rich dynamic. And so don't sacrifice user experience for just some raw blanket metric, because we talked about this earlier. If people come to your website and they don't purchase, that's a much stronger signal potentially to Google than your site speed, as long as it's not, blatantly horrible.
Yeah, it definitely gets overblown a lot in the SEO industry. People obsess about it. It goes back to, we say, some people like to just stick with things in their comfort zone, and site speed's in their comfort zone. So that's another thing. Just kind of related, but what I see a lot of people do, especially with e-commerce platforms, is they get shiny object syndrome, where everyone's just like, oh, I have to be on everyone's on Shopify, I have to be on Shopify. That's more SEO friendly. Or I have to be on BigCommerce or whatever it is. But I've yet to find an e-commerce platform that is not SEO friendly or cannot be made SEO friendly. And changing platforms, it's so expensive. Not just the cost of rebuilding an entire site, but just the hours that you could be spending on other things rather than project managing this thing and approving things and providing feedback. That the only time I see it makes sense is if you're spending, tens of thousands of dollars a year on custom development because you're on this outdated platform where everything needs to be custom developed, but Shopify has an app that you can just install in seconds. There's the ROI case for it. But thinking that going to a new platform is going to solve your SEO issues, or even thinking that an entirely new design is kind of getting a little outside of SEO, talking about design and UX, throwing out your entire theme and website and starting from scratch, there's no guarantees it's going to be better. You'd be surprised how many times gut instincts are wrong. And just because it looks nicer doesn't mean it converts nicer. So I always recommend do iterative A/B testing instead of just throwing everything out and starting with a fresh thing.
Yeah, completely agree. I will say on the replatforming, did replatform from Magento to Shopify Plus. This was back in like 2015, back before Shopify Plus even had a booth at IRCE, which IRC I think didn't exist and now it does again. So like I'm talking about a while ago, but we
Did they
ended
rename
up
it again. I know it was IRCE and they changed it to something else.
I think it was like RICE. I think it's back to IRCE maybe, but I don't know. I can't keep track of it anymore. But we replatformed at that time because we had enough people writing into us saying that they couldn't complete their checkout. And it's like, if somebody actually takes the time to say they can't complete their checkout, how many more people are struggling with that? And I believe that one of the biggest reasons why we ended up ranking significantly better than after that was simply because people were able to continue to finish through that checkout, and that being a really strong indicator to Google. And so sometimes it is the right thing. More often than not, I agree with you. It's not.
100 is So as long as you can do what you need and it's not costing you a lot and like upkeep, stick with your platform.
Okay. One more, and then I want to get into the personal side of Jeff Oxford here. What's the favorite weird keyword that you've ranked for? Is there something you've ranked for? You're like, this is so bizarre and I can't believe that we're ranking for this.
Gosh, sometimes you get like, not at my company, but early in my career, I was working for another agency, and I had a client who was doing penny stocks, and it was the most shady engagement I ever had to deal with. We weren't allowed to call him. Every call would have to be on Skype. He had a fake name. He was a highest paying client. He's paying like 10 grand a month for SEO help for trying to rank for penny stock keywords. And he had like a fake name on Skype. Every single time he paid came from a different bank account. And but yeah, that was an interesting one.
That is crazy. Okay, I want to get into more of the person who is Jeff Oxford. I want to know, your likes and dislikes and things. But I want to start with your journey for 180 Marketing, because I understand that you have an interesting journey that led you to starting this.
Yeah, so it's there's a few places where it happened. First off, my dad had a advertising company.
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna go even further back. My grandfather had a publishing printing company doing like typography with like the bit like working at almost like a paper where you're doing the letterhead and things like that. And then my dad kind of took where he started and brought it to the digital age with computers and doing logos and branding and brochures and back when brochures were a thing. But
love
then
it.
like it started evolving further and now it started getting to SEO and he's like, hey Jeff, there's this SEO. This is back in like 2009. It's like, there's this SEO thing. I don't really understand it. You spend a lot of time at your computer with video games. Maybe you can figure this out. So I read about, and I get hooked. Like I get so fascinated by the fact you can do these things and you can see your rank go up higher. It's kind of like it triggered the video game part of my brain where I can see my score go up. So I got hooked on that and I started helping him with his clients. And then I'm like, you know what? I see this is back in like 2011. I'm like, I want to make some money doing this. Like, I don't want to just be helping other people. So I was fresh out of college. I started a drop shipping site, drop shipping beer pong tables, which if you're not familiar with beer pong, is a popular American drinking game at college parties where you throw a ping pong ball into a cup of beer.
I think everybody's familiar with that. If anybody's watching, they don't know.
You're right. So did that. Realized that there's not a big market for beer pong tables. I was ranking top 3 and I wanted to go to something that had more opportunities. So I sold that to a manufacturer and then I decided I'm going to launch a 3D printing site. This is back in 2012 now where 3D printers were all the hype and they're coming out and people are talking about this is the future. Every home's going to have a 3D printer. My first month I was ranking really well and I got again, I'm like 25 at the time. I got $30,000 in sales and I was stoked. I'm like, I'm going to be rich. I'm killing it. Next month, I start getting these chargeback issues. I start getting chargeback after chargeback. Turns out 90% of those sales were all chargebacks. I had already sent the product to the customer. I had already done this.
Jeez.
So every chargeback, I lost about $2,000. And I'm just seeing my bank account like going down. It wiped out all my savings. Any money that I had, I'm gone. And it put a really bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, you know what? I enjoy SEO. I enjoy marketing for e-commerce sites. I don't enjoy the customer service and the inventory and the shipping and all these other things. I'm just going to stick to what I like. And from there, I walked away from my e-commerce sites and I just went all in on e-commerce SEO. And this was back in 2012. So I've been working exclusively on e-commerce SEO now for about 13 years.
I think it's so good to recognize the thing that you enjoy and say, this is the thing that I actually want to do, though. Too often we say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And we get into there and like, we only enjoy 1% of whatever that is.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not actually just find the thing that you really enjoy and dig into that? And I think that's really cool.
All the more I could see that, I could see the fact that these drop shipping sites were going out, like the margins were getting squeezed. You pretty much had to house inventory and even white label. And I saw the path and how much work was required. I'm like, I'm good. I'm just I'll help people on how to do it.
What about hobbies? Do you like to smoke meat? We brought up smoking meat a lot here today.
I got into it about 2 years ago. It's kind of funny. I make a brisket every week. So like
every week? That is
week.
That is impressive.
Maybe that's why it's so fresh in my mind. I'm probably gonna have brisket right after this for lunch. But
I love it.
I try to eat healthy. It's a high protein diet, and I know I'm also kind of lazy. So what I'll do is I'll smoke a whole brisket on like Sunday. And then, I chop it up, I put into Tupperware, and then I now meal prep for the whole week.
I love it. Do you get up at like 3 a.m. to make this brisket?
I've done it a few times, but I'm more of a, I'll let it rest overnight before doing it. I think
it's more of a meal prep now. Yeah.
I got 2 little girls, age 4 and 1. I think I'm done with the waking up early when you don't have to stage.
Yeah, because they wake you up quite early enough as it is. That's amazing. I have 3 girls. I can completely relate to that. Mine are thankfully at the age where I can sleep again because I have to wake them up now, right? So I've got 15, 12, and 9, and it's more like, it's time to wake up. It is Saturday at 10 a.m. Get out of bed. That's good. So, okay. So you like to smoke meat. You like to smoke brisket. Outside of, let's say, what is your secret what is your secret sauce to a good brisket?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but what I'm just kind of trying to follow what all the experts are doing. I put in salt and pepper Texas style. Then I have a really good rub that I put in addition to that. Put it in low and slow at 225 until it's got nice smoky crust, and then I'll increase the temperature to like 275, and I always finish it, and so I'll wrap it in butcher paper that has like Wagyu tallow, just to get it extra tender and moist, and then I'll kind of finish in the oven, and then sometimes I'll even just kind of let it rest in at like 170 degrees overnight to get it even more tender. So yeah, it tastes great. It's pretty healthy and it's easy, so it checks a lot of my boxes when I'm looking for food.
I need you, after this, remind me, I'm going to send you some stuff here. Buddy of mine, Mike Steele, runs Barbecue Champs Academy, where he literally, I talked about the World Series of Grilling. That's a thing where like you can win like so many like of these grilling competitions. And he has all of these guys who are like master grillers explaining like how they win these competitions, exactly what they're doing. So
I would love
really
that.
Good. I will send that to you. Outside of grilling, are there any quotes that you live by? You've got 2 young girls now, you said 2. It's like, is there a quote that you're like, this is a thing that I say often, and maybe you're not saying it to them yet, but you say it often enough to yourself?
There's something that come to mind in the business world, and I'll see if there's anything that come to mind in my personal life. But business-wise, if you're not growing, you're dying. And kind of with that is you can coast, but you can only coast downhill. So like if you kind of feel like you're just going for, we're just going to take things easy. We're not going to push any new initiatives. Like, yeah, well, your competitors are. So you might be falling behind. I live by the 80-20 rule. I think, what I always tell people with SEO is anybody can optimize it. Like I told people on this podcast, everyone here knows that's listening can easily optimize a page and get good results. But how do you scale that process for a site that has thousands upon thousands? How do you choose which pages really matter? How do you choose which pages to build backlinks to? It's the scaling things that separates the great SEOs from the good SEO. And that all comes down to the 80-20 rule, focusing on that 20% of products and categories that drive 80% of your revenue.
I love it. I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. The bell curve is, let's just say, similar in that idea as well. And I reference that all the time with my daughters who are at the point where it's like, okay, I want you to see how this all fits in here. And so in order for you to go from 95% to 98%, it means this significant amount of exorbitant, or maybe you're saying 95% is good in this area because I still also want to be good at this other thing too, right? And so you're saying, you have to do this. I see this on, let's just say on the search side, on paid ad side with impression share, right? Where somebody's like, we're 98% for our brand. How do we be 100%? And it's, well, you can, for $1,000 a click, you could pretty much be there. And even still then you might not be, right? But there's a limit to that. When you're not working, what do you like to do outside of smoking meat?
With between the business and the 2 girls and family, I get about an hour a night of free time, maybe, 2 hours on weekends. I'm not smoking. Honestly, it's kind of nerdy, but I've always, I was a gamer in the past, and now instead of games, like what I spend my time on doing is just playing with AI. Like my hobby is using some of these no-code app builders that are all AI powered. Like there's like Bolt.dev, and there's Lovable and Replit. I've always wanted to be a developer, but I don't know how to code. It's kind of a problem. But I've been able to make some amazing websites and web applications by just working with AI and having it build things for me. So I just love building things with AI, as nerdy as that sounds.
What's one of the more interesting things that you've built recently?
So I'm trying to scale the SEO process. I built a tool in Replit, and what it does is it uses an API to take a screenshot of a web page. And then it passes that screenshot to ChatGPT to understand what the page is, what the company, like I use it for category pages, for example. What products are listed, what are the unique selling points, what's the brand, all this stuff. Then it takes that information and then passes it to another prompt. Then it pulls in Hrefs data. It pulls ranking data. It's like, what's this page ranking for? What are the keywords, search volumes, ranking positions? And then it takes the information about the page from the screenshot. It takes the ranking data from Hrefs, passes it to ChatGPT again, and has it write an optimized title tag, meta description, header tag based on all that information, and then also write the category description if it's a category or whatever it might be. So I'm in the final stages of tweaking it, but it's basically using AI. My goal is to use AI to optimize a page just as good as if I did it myself.
That's brilliant. I like that. And you get that done. I would love to test that out sometime.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Well, that's cool. Jeff, I have really enjoyed chatting with you today. I've learned a lot about you, and I've learned a lot about SEO and where things are going. If people want to work with you, if they want to follow you, where is the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, our website's just 180marketing.com, or you can just shoot me an email. My email is jeff@180marketing.com. If you enjoyed it, you can just say hi. Love meeting new people. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, that's good. Well, again, thank you so much for jumping on here, sharing your time, sharing your knowledge with us. I've really appreciated it.
It's been great, William. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Up Arrow Podcast with William Harris. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.